I'm doing my little vid in my bedroom on my little iPad tonight. I wanted to talk about worry. I did the video on the law of polarity last night, and I came to bed after doing it and I ended up worrying about it, and I think it was leading up to something. I think it was leading up to me having a few realisations about myself, and our angel cards yesterday for the weekend saying that Friday we'd worry, and I have. And one of my strange coincidences, one of my strange synchronicities today was I sat talking to a friend today whose mum has just passed away, and we were talking about her being in hospital and everything else today, and I got home and found out that my twin flame has been rushed into hospital today around the same time that I was talking about the hospital. So I've got the worry thing going on at the moment and it's going on in my head, but I was worrying last night about something to do with the law of polarity and everything having its equal and opposite to it, and it set me off thinking, and I know that it set me off thinking for a reason. First of all, I don't want to digress and sort of go off on a tangent or anything like that. From the emails and messages that I get from you, from my subscribers, I know that you're amazing. You're doing so well during this awakening, and a lot of you are becoming so aware of what's going on around you, so awake. And I noticed a comment that somebody had put on, I think it was on that video or on my angel card, saying that she'd woken up from a nightmare. And was it real? And my automatic response when I looked at it was, yeah, it was a nightmare. No, it wasn't real. It was all an illusion. Because I'm getting a lot of answers from when I started awakening last year. I saw a lot of signs and symbols and numbers as I was waking up, which at the time I didn't understand what they were. I saw the Eye of Horus, I saw the pyramid, I saw pine cones, I saw numbers, and I didn't understand. They scared me really, really badly. That's why I had such I saw twins everywhere, and why I had such a bad awakening, because it did scare. It was triggering off some really emotional, psychological, deep down stuff that had to be cleared. But the signs and symbols that I was seeing were just scaring me, because I really didn't understand what they were, so they just scared me. A year later, I'm in the same, starting to get into the same time frame as when I started to awaken last year, and I'm now getting the answers through to what I saw last year, to what those signs and symbols were, what the Eye of Horus is, what the goddess, the moon goddess is Isis, things like that. And with the law of polarity, I realised that we can look at these signs and symbols and numbers in two different ways. We can look at them from the bad, the negative, the scary side, as I did last year when I was waking up, or we can look at them from the other end of the spectrum, from the good side, the wondrous side, the, oh wow, I can see all this stuff that I could never see before, and I'm aware of so much that's going on around me that I wasn't aware of before, and that's amazing. There's two ways of looking at it, and now that I understand what it is, it's wondrous to me. It's amazing. It's brilliant. But last year it was horrible. It was really scary. I think what I'm trying to say in all this is as we're waking up, the worries that we have, and the things that happen, and the synchronicities that happen, are all leading us down the right road. You are all doing brilliantly. I get all these wonderful emails from people all over the world that I've never met before, telling me how I've helped you, and you're enjoying the videos and everything. And I guess, and I love that, and I appreciate that. But I have to say that you have to, I'm not, I get just, my self-esteem and my self-confidence can be really low sometimes, just the same as anyone else. As I'm working through things, it gets low, and I'm awake, and I can see things, and I'm aware of things, and I repeat things, I manifest things. You have to go down your own path. You have to discover your own spiritual truth. A lot of our spiritual truths will be very similar. Some of it will be the same. I don't know if upon awakening, if we all see the same things. Although I think we do to a certain extent. We do start having dreams of eyes and pyramids and unusual places, electricity, things like that. I think a lot of us do sort of have similar things on awakening, and it's how we take it. But unfortunately, at the time when we're awakening, because we don't understand it, we can't consciously say, well, I'm going to take this as good, because it's just bloody scary. It was just scary to me. So I think the scary thing that I'm going through now, we've got this blue moon coming up. I think this is what it is. We're just doing more clearing. I think I'm doing more clearing. I'm doing some deep down vulnerability clearing. Now that I'm awake, I realise just how much my mum and dad were asleep. How scary that was, that they brought a child up. Not their fault, not their fault at all, but they brought children up into a world while they were asleep, and I was programmed, just like everybody else in this world was programmed by the TV programs, and by the things we saw, and the things that were said, and the schooling and everything else. I was programmed just the same. So subconsciously my parents did it to me, because they were asleep, and my grandparents, their parents, were probably asleep, and their parents before them, and their parents before them. How many generations does it go back? Generations and generations of us being asleep, of not being aware that we had a third eye, that we could open up our crown chakra, that we could open up all of our chakras, that we are connected to the collective consciousness, that we are one, that we are not separated. My dad, bless him, my entire family were police. They had I was the only one in the family who didn't join the police. And maybe now I know why. I was too short, apparently, at the time. I had to be at least 5'6", and I'm only 5'2", so I never joined the police. But you know, my dad, bless him, I loved him to bits and everything, but he was racist. But back in his day, there wasn't a lot of coloured people over here in England. It was a lot different than it is now. And I just thought all that programming from generation to generation. I've got somebody that I speak to in America, and she lives in Detroit in Michigan. Now, I didn't realise how bad Michigan was. I have this dream of building a retreat, and building hobbit houses, and one day just disappearing off the grid and living in a really natural community, in a natural way, where we're not relying on the government. We don't have to go by their rules anymore. We don't have to have money. We live off the land, which is rightfully ours to start with, but it was taken, it's been taken by government. So, and I was talking to her about it, and she was having a look at some land over there, and she showed me a link with hundreds of houses, derelict houses that are, some of them are absolutely beautiful. And when I looked into it, apparently the governor over there is offering money to for you to go and buy one of these houses and give you a grant to do the house up and try and start the economy off over there again. And for a few minutes I was like, oh wow, this is really, really cool. That would be a really brilliant thing to do. And then I sort of took a little step back, and I thought, that's Detroit. And when I looked up Detroit, it was, I don't know a lot about Detroit. I learned that it was where the car industry was, and a lot of arts theatres and that were. And when the economy fell and you stopped manufacturing cars so much, everyone just cleared out of Detroit, and it's nearly derelict. Nearly half of it is derelict, and it's just such a sad, awful. It's just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to look at those houses. And as I say, I got excited for a few minutes and thought, oh wow, cool, I could start a community out there and buy up these houses and start consciously living and being awake and turn it into a retreat and all sorts of things. And then I realised where exactly it is, and I thought, I'm as awake as I am, and my friend in over there in Detroit is, she's, I don't know how personal I should get, I shouldn't, she's coloured, and she has some other differences, which doesn't bother me, and I totally accept anyway. But I just stepped back for a minute from myself and thought, do you remember Die Hard 3? Bruce Willis stood in the middle of, I don't know where he was stood in the middle of in Die Hard 3, but Samuel L. Jackson was there, and it was a completely coloured community, and he was stood there with a billboard on saying, I don't like colours. And I just got that flash of that in my head, and I thought, for as much as I completely and utterly accept everybody on this planet because I'm one with them and we're not separated any way, shape or form, I'm not ready to stand in the middle of Detroit, and I don't think Detroit's ready for me. I really don't. I don't know how they would even take me. So I think I'm going to have to rethink the area on that one. But how sad that I could even have to consider that and think that. How sad that it's probably not a great idea. It sounded a great idea at the time, but it probably isn't. So who the hell taught us? Who taught us to start with that somebody's religion was better than another person's religion? That being white is better than being black? That being Asian is better than being Chinese, all these different things that we learn, that we maybe learnt from our parents, and that what a load of crock. It really is. Just, there's no, at the end of the day, whether we're gay or lesbian or gender fluid or black or white, or I'm going to start sounding like Michael Jackson in a minute, but surely at the core of all of us, every single one of us is getting upset. The only thing, we're all the same, exactly the same at the core of us. Don't we all want to love and be loved? We all want to be able to free others from conditioning and to be free ourselves. We all want to be able to trust ourselves and trust others. We all want to be vulnerable and loving and giving and have received that back again without the fear of being stepped all over or ridiculed because we are empathic, because we care too much, or we can care too much in some cases. Why do we get ridiculed for that? We shouldn't be ridiculed for that in any way, shape or form. That is the way that things are going. That is what we are learning. We are learning our boundaries. We are learning what is good for us, what is bad for us. We are learning that we can't keep giving and not receive anything in return. We are learning that everybody is one, that everything is connected to everything else on this planet. And I think after going through the law of polarity last night and saying that it's mutable and it is bendable, we should be putting that into practice. But I'm also saying that when I wasn't awake, I was very empathic and I could absorb other people's things, but I was also very, I could dole out advice like I was giving out sweeties, not realising that people around me had their own path to follow. They had to make their own decisions. It was no good me giving out advice to anybody and expecting them to follow that advice, because I was basically saying to them, you're not intelligent enough, take my advice and follow my advice and do it my way. This is how you need to do it. I had no right back then when I didn't realise. I realise now, and I know now, I have nobody has the right to dole out advice to somebody else and expect that other person to then have to, try and make that other person make decisions based upon your advice or based upon your beliefs and your thoughts. That person has to make their own decisions. You can guide them. You can't make them they have to make their own decisions. They have to make their own mistakes. They have to learn themselves. They have to wake up themselves. They have to spiritually grow themselves. We cannot make them do that. And they can't do that if they're following our advice and not making their own decisions and not realising and trusting themselves enough and loving themselves enough to know that they can make their own choices and their own choices are completely right for them. And I think that's what all of us need to be aware of. And I think most of you are, and I am. I think it just really hit home with the law of polarity last night, and how much since waking up I've completely changed from the inside out as a person, and how you all are as well, because I know you're astounding, you're amazing, all of you. So always, yes, listen to other people and listen to advice, not advice, or guidance, and that, but then put your own spin on it. Then decide for yourself whether you as a person believe that it's true or not, and take your own truth from it, measure it against your core beliefs, what your intuition tells you, what your gut instinct is telling you is right. If I ever say anything that you think is not true to yourself, don't take it. Don't take it. Always trust yourself first. And the thing about worry, when we're worrying too much, we're not loving ourselves and we're not respecting ourselves. Half the time we're worrying about things that are more conditions on situations that are around us. And as soon as we start doing that, and as soon as we start going round in those circles, God, how true were my bloody cards yesterday. As soon as all that starts happening, you're not thinking straight. You're allowing circumstances and other people and their way of thinking to get in, to mess with your vibration, to get into your vibration, to get you off the higher vibration, to stop you feeling so positive. So we have to stop doing that as soon, and we have to catch ourselves in the act of doing that. I know that we're all changing, and we're all changing for the better, and we're all doing really, really well. But yeah, I still have days where it's really, really difficult. It's really difficult. But I know that I'm on the right path, and I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know that I'm growing. I know that I'm spiritually growing. I know that I come to realizations a lot of the time. A lot of the things that you say in your emails and your comments and that will make me sit back and think and help. We are all helping each other to grow. Not one of us is more intelligent than somebody else. I'm not more intelligent than you. You're not more intelligent than me. We're all intelligent in our own ways. We're all unique in our own ways. We're all amazing in our own way. And we can never ever look at somebody else and think, I wish I was like them, or I wish I had the stuff that they've got, because it's just stuff and it doesn't mean anything. Deep down at our core, we're all exactly the same. And that's what we have to remember. Do you know what? I wrote a load of notes and I don't even think I've looked at them once, because I wrote pages last night, just as my angel messages said, to pour it out on paper, to get those feelings out on paper, because you've got them out into the open then. But my views are no better than your views are no better than my views. It just happens that I'm on here because I was guided when I woke up to come on. This was my path, to try and help guide other people in the best way that I can, to awaken. Oh God, bloody double chin. It's about, and there's a real surrender and a real vulnerability when you have to go sometimes really, really deep and sort out some of your inner stuff. It is another law of polarity. Let's change the fear. Let's change the fear of change. Let's change that inner fear that we have of not wanting to face all the stuff on the inside, which is really painful sometimes. Which is really painful sometimes. Let's change it into courageousness. Let's get that mutable thing going and bend it and change it into courageousness. That we have got the courage on the inside to be able to change, and we can change by changing ourselves from the inside out. We can change the world. We can change our reality around us. And no matter what our parents taught us, or their parents before them, we're now at such an important time with ascension, things are so important now, and we are growing so much. And yeah, it's a really difficult thing sometimes, but we know that once we've got through it, as the angel cards say, that new dawn is breaking in the morning, that new day is coming on. That thing that we all have, that people pleasing thing that we all have. I used to have it, and I realised that in a certain situation I still have it to a certain extent, and I still need to get it cleared. That ridiculous over-caring that we do, where we just give too much, where we somehow think that if we say the right thing or do the right thing or work hard enough, work our fingers to the bone, somehow that will make a particular person or a particular situation better, that they will love us back. The more we do, the more we give, and we overgive, and we overcare, and just the opposite happens when you do that. But we still do it. That's part of waking up, realising that that is not right, because by doing that you're not loving yourself, you're not respecting yourself, you're not trusting yourself, you're not doing anything like that, and you are the first and foremost in your life. I did it all my life because of, that's what my parents taught me. I had a mum who was very, very involved, bless her, in charity work, because I had a disabled brother, and my dad looked after me. And I grew up thinking that if I did the best at school, and I did the best drawing, and I looked the best, and I was the best, and I could try my hardest and say all the right stuff, then my mum would be around more. So I grew up like that, and then it goes into relationships, and I'm not the only one, you know, and that's overgiving, and that's being too much. So that's something that stemmed from my childhood, and it was basically a fear of abandonment. That I think this is one of my last clearings that I probably need to do, and it's probably one of the deepest ones that needs to come out and clear. So I think I'm just in the middle of clearing that at the moment. We don't do it. We don't need to do it. What else I wrote down, but yeah, but we're all the same. We all want to love, we all want to be loved, we all want to be free. We don't want to be told what to do. We want to stand in our own uniqueness. We want to stand in our own craziness at times. Whatever relationships we used to have, however we used to be in relationships before we woke up, we will never go. Once we're awake, that's it. We don't go back to sleep. We can never go back and be in a relationship the way we used to be in a relationship. Relationships have changed, and we can't do that anymore. You can't go into a relationship where you are compromised, where you compromise yourself, where you put your partner in a position where maybe they're compromising themselves as well. It's simply something that now we're awake, it doesn't happen, and we can't do that, which is an amazing, fantastic thing. But sometimes, once you're awake, when you look back at how you used to be, or how much you've changed, you think you're almost unrecognisable to yourself sometimes. You look at yourself and think, how could I ever have done that when I thought at the time that it was right, and it was, you were being right, but so yeah, we can't give out advice, we can guide, but we can never, people have to make their own mistakes, they have to grow themselves, you have to make your own mind up about things. You can take the truth from different people, you can watch different things, hear different things, but you, at the end of the day, you make up your own spiritual path and your own spiritual truth from it. I can get just as scared and lack of confidence and self-esteem and everything else as others occasionally. I'm getting better at it, and I'm doing it every day, and I'm sorting it, and I think I'm just on a major clearing thing at the moment. I'm probably doing my ascension bit because I've got the cold again. But we are spiritually learning and growing every day, and sometimes that growing and that learning can teach us some really hard lessons. And when we have stuff mirrored back to us, when we're pointed in the direction of lessons that we need to learn, and then we finally realise what those lessons are that we need to learn, sometimes that's really hard. But we learn and we change as we go along. We learn to accept ourselves, love ourselves, respect ourselves, trust ourselves, be ourselves, just be. For all our quirky things and everything else. And I love you lot when you comment or you email, because sometimes I think the things that I go through, I know that I hope that I can mirror back to you somehow some of the vulnerabilities that you might have as well, but you see that sometimes I have them because I haven't finished clearing everything. I think I'm nearly there, but I hope that you can know that you none of you are on your own. I know I'm not on my own. I have you lot, and you lot are not on your own at all, because we still have issues and things to work through to get through all of this. We have to grow spiritually, emotionally, everything. So any lessons that come through to me, I still welcome those lessons, even though they hurt, and you need to welcome them even though they hurt you. And you teach me. So it's not me teaching you, you teach me, we teach each other. As I say, nobody's more intelligent than anybody else, nobody's more fantastic than anybody else. We're all the same, we all have our own fantasticness. Is that a word? We all have our own fantasticness, we all do that. You know, you teach me to love me more. I hope that I helped teach you to love you more, guide you to love you more. Whenever we get attacked, psychically attacked, whenever we get triggered by other people, by other things, which is a form of psychic attack, as long as we're aware of that, we can grow through that. That makes us stronger, that gets us through, that helps us sort out what our insecurities are. We get strong through our insecurities. When people see us being true to ourselves, when people are seeing us changing, there are going to be people out there who don't like it, who don't agree with it, who may want to make us try and feel vulnerable, and we have to have the strength to get through that and know that they're just tests. And the people doing it probably don't even sort of consciously know that they're doing it, but it's like, oh, right, here's the lesson, learn it. Have you learnt it? Because we're going to come in and test you on it now, and we're going to see how you react to it. And if you react the same way as you did last time before you learnt the lesson, we're going to do it again and again and again until you've got it. So there's no rush, because it'll just keep being repeated until you get it, until you've learnt. So it's almost a confirmation when we go through these bits, these tests. It's almost a confirmation that, yeah, you're doing all right, you're doing brilliantly, and you are getting through it, and you are growing. And that test has come back, that same situation has come back, that same person's come back. But you can see them now, and you're completely aware, and you can deal with everything in a different way than you did before. And if you can do that, you bring a different result and a different outcome, a more positive one. Contract over, test over, done, move on to the next one. And that's how it is. So I think as we're awakening, we're learning and realising that a lot of the emotions, conditions that we grew up with were not ours to start with. We just took them on, we absorbed them, we took them on, we learnt them. Now we're just sloughing them all off. So sometimes it is a nightmare, and sometimes it is wondrous. Which polarity are we going to look at it from? The good or the bad? Or are we just going to be in the middle? We can be just in the middle. We can be aware of the bad, but lean to the good. But I think first of all we have to learn before we get to that point, in whatever test we're going through, in whatever lesson we're learning at the time. So fear to courageousness, and thank you. Thank you for teaching me so many things. It's a two-way street. Hope this helps. I'm going to get me and my double chin off now and get to bed. Okay, namaste, blessings and light. I love you all. Take care.